Welcome to the Fire Circle, interviews with the modern granny woman in your life. My name is Ellis Elliott, and I write a series of cozy mysteries based on a lineage of Appalachian granny women, or witches, as they were sometimes called. So, what is a granny woman? Well, let me tell you, back in the pre-Civil War days in the isolated community mountains of East Tennessee, there were certain women that took on the combined role of healer, midwife, and preparing the dead for burial. These were the granny women, or witches. While these women were depended upon by their communities in these important situations, they were often seen as outsiders because of their esoteric knowledge and by the fact that they did not follow the prescribed role of women at all for that time. In other words, they were often seen as peculiar. There are many modern-day granny witches, and they might not even be a granny or a witch. Probably neither. But they're someone who, when you think of them, conjures up a vivid memory, and who cast a spell, if you will, on the person you are today. These are the folks we're to meet in our Fire Circle interviews. I met Kirsten at a writers' conference called CozyCon this past summer, and just was really impressed with not only her writing, but what she wrote about. And I'm going to have her tell you about that, and what she wrote about, and in the way she wrote it, and the other things she does to develop the ideas of her plot lines and of her subject matter. So I'm going to just hand it over to you, Kirsten, and you can tell us all of the things, and then we'll jump into your granny woman, granny witch.
Well, first of all, I was so excited to meet you, Ellis, and hear about your Granny Woman series because, like you, I like to take things from reality. I like to look at magical history. I've worked with a lot of people who are different types of magical practitioners, from shamans to astrologers and energy workers to witches, and I've learned so much from them, and I love putting that in the books because I think it makes them feel a lot more real, and also because I just think it's so interesting. I mean, I love the talking cats as much as anybody else. They're great fun, but I think the reality of what people are doing to transform their lives magically is so interesting and so exciting that I really enjoy putting that into my books. So when I heard about your series based on, yeah, Appalachia,
That's right.
was
That's
yes.
right. That's right.
Sorry, it's been
Got it.
several months since we talked about
Yeah,
it. So
yeah.
I was so excited, like somebody's doing what I'm doing. This is fantastic. Um, but yeah, I mean, sometimes I think I might go a little too deep down the wormhole. I got very interested in mystery schools. I ended up joining a very old mystery school that's actually by mail order, called the Builders of the Adetum. And they actually send you envelopes with little booklets about your lesson today, and it's written in very archaic language from the early 20th century. And so I ended up creating my own mystery school series because I think you can use a lot of um, this esoteric knowledge for self-transformation and tools for self-transformation. So I created my mystery school series of cozy mystery novels, where in each book features a different person who's going through their online mystery school instead of mail order mystery school, and what they're learning. And the mystery school has its own set of tarot cards because mystery schools typically do teach their students with tarot cards. And then that kind of blew up, and I ended up creating my own untarot deck from the mystery school, which I'm so excited because it just arrived from the printers this week. So I've been
Can you
enjoying
show us
yeah. So it
one more?
comes in this lovely purple pouch, and comes with here's the backs of the deck, and it comes with a little white book and also an online book that you can read. And then we have just all these different cards which like change, and the subconscious, and things that the mystery school is working in
Yeah.
time. Sorry, it's all reversed, so you can't read it. Oops,
Okay. And it's
dropping things.
collage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all digital collage. Sorry, I dropped something
That's okay.
because I was doing it myself. And it's a very feminine deck. They're all women in the deck. I think I do have a boy in there at some point, but this is one of my favorite cards, the Sacred Space. And it
Yes.
just touches on these magical concepts that the mystery school is teaching people about for transformation. So it's in a sense, it's a real mystery school type deck, but it's all fictional. So in a sense, it's not. So anyway, like I said, I went a little crazy with this, with a series of books. But yeah, readers can like join the mystery school and get on the email list from the mystery school and get little weekly emails from the mystery school about the teaching for the week, which connects to these various tarot cards. And I wanted to sort of build it out. But again, I also wanted it to be real. So you're not learning how to turn a person into a cat.
Right.
Yeah, people are learning how to become more magical.
Yes, and when you say magical, just from what I've read of what you do, it's really an introspective transformation at whatever stage we are in life, where you realize you are stepping into something else, some other part of you, right?
Yeah, I mean, from a very, like, let's say non-magical, just psychological
Yeah.
perspective, when you change yourself and you change your behavior, everybody that you interact with changes the way they interact with you. And so everything starts to change around you. You start to see things differently. You start to see opportunities that you might have missed. You start taking chances you might not have taken, and everything changes. So from a pure, again, just material, psychological, there is a total rational explanation for this. But that said, I have to say, I do actually believe that magic is real, that there is something else out there that we can tap into, which can kind of transform things in much more surprising ways than the psychological explanation explains.
Ah, oh, yes, that whole other level. Yes. Well, let's segue right into, because I have an idea it will fit very well into your idea of the wise old granny woman, whatever shape or, way she may manifest in your life.
Well, my magical granny woman was actually a group of women who I met. I can't even remember how I met them, but once I met them, I discovered I had all these weird connections to them that I didn't realize. Like one of the women had actually known my father, and I didn't know that. So all these strange things, but they were to me, they weren't grannies. They were a generation above me, which was more like mommies. But at that point, I was in my 40s. So we all had silver. My hair was starting to go gray, and their hair was definitely silvering. So they were granny women. Some of them had grandchildren. Some of them did not. Um, and they were interesting. They were all friends. They had their little group meetings together about magic and what they were doing and spirituality as well, because it wasn't just a magical practice for them, it was a spiritual practice for them as well, but they were all doing different things. So one had who was my main mentor, I'll call her, her name is Elizabeth Barton. She's an energy worker and an astrologer, but she grew up in a shamanic family from both sides. One side was Hungarian shamanism and the other side was Japanese shamanism.
Wow.
And she had some fantastic stories of like her grandfather taking her out into the woods and telling her to like put her hands on the trees and listen to the trees and what they were telling her. And he came from a Hungarian warrior shaman tradition where like the trees would tell him if there were the shamans, if there were invading armies coming in. And she explained it was kind of all through the root systems. They knew, the trees knew what was happening in the forest, and they could tell the shaman if the shaman was dialed into that.
Yeah.
So, but unfortunately, most of her family died when she was quite young, which
Mm.
is unfortunately kind of, shamans become shamans through a dismemberment, and it could be a physical dismemberment or it could be like a psychological dismemberment after a major loss. So she lost pretty much all her family when she was quite young, and she was on her own as a teenager. And so she decided to come out to California where she's part of the whole hippie San Francisco subculture at that point.
Yes.
So she has had a wild ride. And then she went to the military after she was an MP. After that, she became a police officer, a CHP officer at California Highway Patrol. And she had crazy stories from that. So I think all these women were different. Some of them, they all had their own personality, but there was this underlying toughness to all of them. Like, they'd seen some stuff, they'd come through some stuff, but they were happy people. They had fun with their lives, but there was just this like core of iron through all of them, which just impressed me so much. And I hope I have that someday too. I want that is what I aspire to.
And so those different traditions, I think, is always so interesting, that the different kinds of magic that are passed down. And I know you explore a lot of those in your writing, but then I think the hitting the nail on the head is that resilience, that tough as nails kind of way of being in the world. And usually that's because they've had to walk a different path, don't you think?
For sure. I mean, they all saw the world from a different angle from the norm, and so they all walked in the world a little differently. But none of them saw themselves, as far as I could tell, as victims. Sorry, I need to turn my phone off. I forgot to do that. None of them saw themselves as victims, even though they've come through some tough times.
Right.
And I think because of that, they lived, and they're still alive, but they have great lives. They're doing their own thing. They have fun. They're, we're all getting achier. The
Right.
arthritis is setting in, but man, they're living their best lives, and they're wonderful, inspiring, smart, funny women.
And you're still connected.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit less so since I've moved out of California. It's more occasional email and stuff, but I still feel connected to them. I don't because they taught me so much, and yeah, I feel very grounded into them in a weird way. It's
Yeah.
hard to explain.
Right. Right. And do you see their influence in your life today, whether it's in your work or your personal life?
Oh, for sure. Again, I think a lot of it's the toughness, not wanting to see myself as a victim, even when. Oh yes, this has not been the best year for me. One of my sisters was killed in a car accident, but I think having seeing what they've gone through, it's like I can do this. It sucks. I'm
Right.
not happy about it, but yeah, I can get through this, and that's certainly been helpful on a practical, just day to day life level. I'm just like, you just keep going. You just keep going, you just keep creating, and you know that you trust that you're gonna get through this stuff. And then from a magical perspective, my friend Elizabeth, so she actually, again, she has so much knowledge and she's told me so many stories. And I kept telling her, you need to make, she was teaching in her house, and I kept telling her, you need to make this an online course. And she was just like, yeah, I do, but I'm not going to because I don't do that. I was like, okay. So finally she said, okay, Kirsten, you do it. You set it up and I will talk. And so that's what we did. We created, and this was years ago.
Okay.
But I remember when we were doing it, so she sees evil as a real force. Demons are real. There are entities that, do not have your best interest at heart, and especially that she thinks that when you start to become a magical practitioner, the more your light shines, the more they're attracted to taking you
Mm.
out or bringing you down.
Yeah.
And I always thought, well, when we were doing this course, I thought, oh, it's more of a metaphor. Demons are more of a metaphor. It's, what's inside of you. It's a shadow side coming out and stuff. And I felt a little awkward doing the course, which is just like very hardcore about things. And I was like, the other point of view. But I have to say, now I think it's probably been 10 years since we did that course, or maybe 8 years. And now I'm coming around to her point of view on things. So,
Really
yeah, so she's definitely influenced my thinking in that regard.
interesting. So the more Yeah, you open yourself up to all the possibilities, the more those things that you dismissed or, are.
Yeah, I mean, the granny women have a lot to say and they have a lot of wisdom behind them, and it is worth listening to them, even when we more moderns, like, she's not that much older than me, but again, it's a different generation. You think you know it, it's like, oh, it's psychology, oh, it's a metaphor. Like, oh, maybe it's not. Maybe she was right.
Yeah, that really is kind of the basic, the crux of it, isn't it? Because we can so easily dismiss a lot. I know for the granny women in particular, they're uneducated in the mountains, and then you think, oh, there's a lot of wisdom there that under our constant current of social media and the clattering of the daily world in our heads, we are not in tune to. And when you having not been in tune with it, we don't know what the possibilities might
Yeah.
be out there.
Yeah. There is a lot to learn from them, and they should not be, some of their, wacky ideas should not be quite so easily dismissed, for
Yes.
sure.
Yes. Now, do you have anything from your uh, friend that you spoke of by chance with you?
I did. Well, she taught me this meditation for protection, which I've adapted it a little bit, so I can't remember exactly what hers was compared to what mine became, but I'd be happy to share it.
Please do. I would love
Okay.
that. Thank you.
So, all right. So just put your feet flat on the floor, close your eyes, and take a deep breath, and visualize a light glowing in your heart space. And as you inhale, visualize that light getting brighter and brighter. And as you exhale, that light pushes out into the borders of your aura. So you inhale and it glows bright, bright, bright. And you exhale and it sort of explodes outward. Inhale and exhale till you're surrounded by a white protective light. And now when you inhale, your heart space glows brighter. And as you exhale, any negativity is pushed out to the edges of your aura, that globe around you, to be consumed by a violet flame that takes it wherever it needs to go. So inhale, bright white light of protection, and exhale. And as it pushes outward, it takes any negativity into that violet flame. So one more time, inhale and exhale any negativity, anything that is attached to you that shouldn't be attached to you, anything you no longer need goes into that violet flame. And then visualize a white protective light coming down from the heavens through the top of your head and into your heart space. And visualize a white light going down from your heart, down your spine, through your feet, into the earth, deep into the earth, where it ties off around a giant quartz crystal. It could be white quartz or pink quartz. And then as you inhale, white light comes back up from the earth, through your spine, and into your heart. You are protected, and tell yourself that this white protective light will protect you for the next 24 hours. Open your eyes.
Ah, thank you. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
sharing that with us and how timely, I think, given the election coming soon and this kind of energy right now in our country.
Yeah,
I love that those specific images and it it is something we all can use in this. I don't know what you call it. I'm sure you can think of a good word that.
Her acronym was I think PCBG. It's protecting, clearing, grounding, and I can't remember what the other one is. But you're protecting yourself, you're clearing yourself, and you're grounding yourself.
Yes, yes, amen. I could use that 10 times a day. But that is such a gift. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And before we go, I just want you to tell us, we will add it. I always want to say show notes because but I have no show notes. That's what the people in podcasts say. But I will have some notes. But I want you to say how we can find your book and all these other goodies that you've been talking about and find you.
Well, you can find me on KirstenWeiss.com. That's KirstenWeiss.com. I'm on YouTube at Kirsten Weiss-writer. I'm on Instagram at Kirsten Weiss author. I really should make them all the same, but didn't for whatever reason. But you can find me online. I'm on Amazon, I'm on Barnes and Noble, all those great online retailers.
Great, great. We will definitely be looking you up. And thank you again for your time. And hopefully we can get you back to give us another story and another meditation. That would be great.
Oh, I'd love to.
Thank you again.